Welcome to Gone Fishing, a show diving into the cybersecurity threats that surround our highly connected lives. Every human is different. Every person has unique vulnerabilities that expose them to potentially successful social engineering. On this show, we'll discuss human vulnerability and how it relates to unique individuals. I'm Connor Swalm, CEO of FinSecurity, and welcome to Gone Fishing. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gone Fishing. I'm your host, Connor, CEO at Fin, and I am joined once again by a friend of mine, Jimmy Hatzell. He's the VP of Revenue at CyberQP and the democratically elected warlock of Privileged Access Management. And if you don't know what that means, you should listen to our previous episode that we just had Jimmy on, where we talked about everything PAM, because he was wonderful. He taught me a ton about it. You can learn a ton about it too. How are you, Jimmy?
I'm doing amazing. Doing great.
Today, what are we talking about? We've had you on. We've talked about privileged access management. We talked about AI, some of the dangers that it could potentially pose to people who are using it, some of the benefits it could pose to not only businesses, but individuals if they learn to, if they educate themselves and learn to use it properly. And today, we're talking about another topic that is the future of cybersecurity bleak? Is it a bleak future? Is it a bright future? What would make it bleak or bright? And I'll let you take it from there. Just open season. Just say whatever you'd like there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gray clouds, but we got an umbrella, I think. And there's pockets of sunshine here and there. There's been more information and data created in the last 2 years in the history of mankind. And we have an exponentially, logarithmically larger amount of information to protect every single year. And the talent shortage gets bigger every year because there's more pieces of information to protect. There's more technology adoption. There's faster internet. There's all of that, right? That's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. 10x, 20x, 100x year over year, right? But the amount of people we have to actually be experts in cybersecurity, with say 10 years experience to run a cybersecurity program, that number is very small because they would have need to enter cybersecurity as a field 10 or 20 years ago. So we only have the inputs are 10 years behind on the outputs of what we actually need, right? So say we have a talent shortage of say 1 million people, depending how you ask. I don't know. I'm just using big numbers here. We can't train 1 million people on 10 years experience in a year, right? It's going to take 10 years. And by the time those 10 years go by, we're going to need way, 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 way more. So the problem is going to continue to get worse because of that. And there's great technology and great tools that can help manage that and get better, but there's always going to be a shortage of people. And that's why MSPs are uniquely positioned to either co-deliver or deliver cybersecurity services themselves and sort of manage all of the different tools and technologies, because you are out there, dealing with customers. You're the front lines. You're the people that they're going to call if they have a cybersecurity problem, right? You can't just call 911 for cybersecurity. You call a local computer help near me, and an MSP pops up on the screen and you're like, hey, my screens are all have a ransomware thing. They say I need to pay them Bitcoin. We have our financial audit tomorrow. I need help right now, right? No IR firm is getting those calls from the local accounting firm, right? It's an MSP who's going and figuring that out. So I say all of this to comment on the fact that the cybersecurity problem is going to continue to get worse, which I would say the future is bleak when you look at that from that lens. But from an MSP perspective and a cyber security, someone like you and I out here helping people every day, trying to get the problem a little better, there is a lot of opportunity for us. I think good can I think good will always prevail over evil at the end of the day. It just might take some time. But we're getting there. So I don't think it's doom and gloom. Let's give up. It's going to be hard. It's going to be challenging. But you know, it's 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 we can make a difference. And by, whether you're an MSP or you're working like myself as a cybersecurity vendor, like you, Connor, like we're helping people get secure. We're helping them protect their business, their livelihoods, their jobs, pay for their kids, that type of thing. So there is, that's the reason I'm in cyber, right? Because I feel like I feel like it's the way that I can make a real difference in the world because I'm good at it. And like, not to brag, but like, I know cybersecurity in general, and I feel like I can make a big impact because there's such a big problem to work on. So yes, it's bleak, but it's good for us, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, it's like you said, there's spots of sunshine and we have some umbrellas. It's,
Yeah.
I always go back to explaining to folks who aren't in security or don't understand it directly. It's like, why is this such a big problem? And I always go back to the defender's dilemma. Is a defender has to be right all the time forever. An attacker has to be right exactly once at any point in the future. And if that attacker is right and that defender is wrong, well, congratulations, you just got hacked. And if you have proper tools in place, if you have privileged access management in place, the hack is limited in scope and it's not going to be an incredibly big deal. You still have to deal with it, but it's not going to be the end of your business. However, if you're not knowledgeable in security or you're not working with an MSP that is an expert or a vendor that is an expert, you could be on the phone calling your local computer repair guy saying, why is this message on my screen and why do I owe them several $1,000s in Bitcoin? Can you tell me what a Bitcoin is? That's probably what their first question is going to be. So I always go to the defender dilemma, but I completely agree. Like the talent gap, the millions, 1, 2, 3, at a million, I can't even conceptualize what a million people would look like. It's like an entire city of people that's just missing from the workforce. And like you said, it's only going to get worse. Cybersecurity is becoming a bigger field and people aren't being educated fast enough because they're not joining the field quick enough. So if the people aren't keeping up, how can solutions keep up? How can the solutions they use or how can the solutions MSPs use? How can they keep up and keep security in a place where everyone's not getting hacked all the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I said this in the last episode, but like you gotta follow a framework, right? You gotta align your business to some guideline or reference, right? It's like gap accounting, right? Like if you don't know where your numbers are and you don't have some standard for doing your accounting, then who knows how reliable it is. But if you can align to CIS or NIST, and then you have a guideline to go forward, and then you need to do continuous improvement, because I guarantee you, if you go to implement one of those frameworks, you're not going to get through the whole thing right away, and you're always going to be working on it forever and ever and ever. So cybersecurity is an ongoing process. It's not a tech, right? It's not a product, right? Cybersecurity is a product. It's an ongoing process that is going to get, you need MSPs are always going to be swapping things in and out, and they're always going to need to be improving, and they're always going to need to be retraining end users, and they're always going to need more security. It's just, dedicating the time to it and committing to continuously improving. I think security vendors in general, or cyber people, are over arrogant and often talk down to small businesses or other IT professionals. Say, oh, well, you don't have this, how could you not have, this cybersecurity? You don't even know what you're talking about. You blah, 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 blah. And that puts people off. We need to meet people where they're at and help rise them up. And I think part of the problem of why the average security posture is very mature is because it's so intimidating to bring on any cybersecurity in general. And there's a immediate gut reaction from cyber vendors to say, well, you need everything right away or else you're going to get hacked and it's going to be horrible. When really it's like, hey, you're here, right? And you want to get to there. Here's, the steps we can do along the way. Here's what 3 months looks like. Here's what 6 months looks like. Here's what 9 months look like. And we need to change the way that everyone looks at and talks about cybersecurity to be from that friendly, helping mindset, because that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to protect people. We're here to help people. At least, I know you are, right? So, you know, like this, like, oh, well, there's a Simpsons episode, right? There's a Simpson episode for everything, and and Maggie is, falling in love with this activist guy, and she goes to him. They're in like they got like locked up in this scene, and she goes to him. Oh, I've gone vegetarian to help save the planet. And he goes, oh, well, you've only gone vegetarian? You're not a level 10 vegan like myself? I don't need anything that casts a shadow, right? And then and then she's like, oh, well, I've started composting and I have a whole composting thing in my backyard. And he goes, composting in your backyard? You don't pocket mulch? And he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a thing of dirt. And that's like what I hear from cybersecurity vendors when they're like, you don't have, you haven't fully aligned to, CMMC, blah, 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 blah. Not to, there's lots of people who are doing those things, but like, just meet people where are at. Hey, if you don't have a good security program at all, like start on the first 3 CIS controls and like, get to know your environment and then like, work in a progress moving forward. And I don't know, like good will prevail evil if we can stay on the good side. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah. There is cybersecurity is in my mind, that technical field, like up there with like all the STEM fields that you've learned in college or higher education. And like sometimes the judgment that you feel from those people is very palpable. And I do see a lot of that. I also see a lot of the opposite. I see a lot of people who understand exactly like you're talking about. It's like you can't get from 0 to 100 in a day, and trying to convince someone that's exactly what they should do is completely bonkers and also usually incredibly expensive. So if you're trying to talk to a small business who are the people who need the most amount of security at this point, and you say, hey, I need you to double your expense budget next month and every month thereafter, they're like, no, like, screw you. I'd rather get hacked. It's like, that's not what they're going to say, but they're just not in a place where they can do that. So like starting of like, here's what we're going to do here's the baby steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, here's 3 months, 6 months, a year. I think that's incredibly, incredibly wise. And there's a lot of people that think that way, but I think a lot of MSPs, if MSPs are listening right now, approaching a conversation with your clients like that would probably make them feel more secure, not necessarily be more secure, but at least the feeling would be there. And then you can work on it after you create the relationship. I think that's some really, really wise advice.
Thank you. Got advice every once in a while. That's wise.
You save all the wise advice for all the podcasts, and then all the bad advice you leave unrecorded.
Yeah. Then I'm like, yeah. You should totally jump off that roof, man. You won't hurt your legs.
Aim for the bushes.
Yeah.
Should last question we'll wrap up with then. Should MSPs be taking a larger role in security than they currently are? Are they approaching it? Are they aiming too low? Are they aiming too high? What's your perspective on that?
I mean, I just think MSPs are the only solution to the cyber problem for small and medium-sized businesses. Like, they're not able to do it themselves, so MSPs have to do it. So, like, pick a framework, start aligning yourself and your customers to it, and move forward, one step at a time. And there's going to be MSPs who are underprepared or undertrained to take on that task. And there's going to be MSPs who succeed really well and, are doing amazing work. But it's what we got, right? Like, the average small 5-person company or 10 or 15 or 20 or even 100-person company, they can't afford to bring on, start a security operations center in-house. So they need, an MSP to go and help them and guide them in their security and their IT.
Yeah. The enterprise vendors aren't going to look at small businesses because they're not profitable enough. And the small business owners are so busy running a small business that they can't do it themselves. So MSPs, this reminds me of a quote that I've said, I think on this podcast before, by Winston Churchill. Never, never, never give up Never give up on something that you can't go a day without thinking about. Never give in except the convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force. Never yield to the apparent overwhelming might of the enemy. I don't know if that inspired some people today, but sometimes I read that and it inspires me. So
I feel inspired.
At least one person feels inspired. Thank you. Any last second advice for folks trying to understand a little bit more about security, or maybe if they wanted to learn a little bit more about Jimmy Hatzell, what would you give to them?
Oh no, connect with me. Happy to connect on LinkedIn. And it's okay wherever you're at with your security journey. It's an ongoing process, and you don't have to pretend like you have it all figured out, because nobody really does.
If anyone shames you and you're listening to this, Jimmy will come personally kneecap them for you.
Any pocket mulchers out there.
And any pocket mulchers out there for sure. And we'll have Jimmy's LinkedIn. We'll have contact information in the show notes. So if you'd like to get in touch, if you'd like to connect and learn a little bit more about him, you can. Or just ask him some more interesting questions like I have today. This is where I learn a lot. So thanks for joining us, Jimmy. It was a blast having you on again.
Thanks. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Sweet. Once again, Connor, CEO at Fin. And I was joined by the great Jimmy Hatzell, VP of Revenue at CyberQP, and also the democratically elected warlock of privileged access management. We're making that stick, by the way.
There you go. Yeah, you're going to get me in trouble on that one.
I'll see you all next time. Thanks for joining. Thanks so much for tuning in to Gone Fishing. If you want to find out more about high-quality security awareness training campaigns, how to launch them in ways that actually engage employees to change their habits, then check us out, Fin Security, at finsec.io. That's PHINSEC.io. Or click all of the wonderful links in our show notes. Thanks for fishing with me today, and we'll see you next time.